DeMar, how big is it if you guys can win tomorrow? But you'll obviously be on the brink of elimination, like the game 5 which is now best 2 out of 3 series.
It's big, you know. This is why you play for home court advantage. We got an advantage to come play on our home court tomorrow night and take advantage of it. You know, we're gonna have to play extremely hard. You know, we got to play like we on the road, like, you know, our backs against the wall. It's a game 7, sort of like we played last night. So that's the mentality we got to have.
DeMar, do you believe in momentum? I mean, it hasn't meant a whole lot in the series yet, but do you believe in?
Yeah, it can shift at any point. You know, and it's something that we need to look at and, you know, let it carry over, but not be comfortable at all with a win from last night. We got to understand we still got to have that same anger, intensity, everything that we had, you know, that night before we played yesterday going into tomorrow's game.
How much of a difference did the change in the lineup make for you, just having Norm out there?
It gave us another opportunity to have a ball handler out there, you know, having.
For you in particular? Like
Yeah, just like I said, just having another ball handler out there and getting off the ball. You know, Norm out there, he's extremely aggressive. So, you know, you gotta honor that. So with that, you know, the floor a little space a little bit more. You know, I was able to, you know, find spots, rather push the ball up. You know, I know Norm is going to find his spots and, you know, just give that another option with a wing perimeter guy out there.
What's the difference getting a screen set by Norm or a big for you?
A lot of times switching, you know, when a guard set it, you know, just getting a switch. Usually when a big set it, they kind of corral me, kind of blitz me to get the ball out of my hand. So, you know, them are the two differences. You know, a lot of times, especially if Cal set it, you know, or a smaller guy set it, you know, I could get that switch and, you know, I could have a little bit more room to operate.
What does it say about Norm? I mean, he did it last year too, but to have his role sort of fluctuating during this series and then to be called upon and step up the way that he did in such an important game yesterday, what does that say about him as a player and as a person?
And that's a true professional right there. A guy, you know, still young, but understands whenever his name is called, he's ready. You know, that's one guy that's in the gym every single morning. You walk in here, he's getting his work in. And it shows when he get put in them situations.
How much did you guys as a team emphasize the start, the first 6 minutes of the first quarter, the first 6 minutes of the third quarter yesterday, given what happened in Game 3?
It was everything, you know, because, you know, you don't want to be down like we were. Again, you know, you look up at the score, you know, you kind of, you know, get frustrated, you know, being down by so much so quick. You know, we was understanding, you know, we couldn't let that happen. You know, the crowd was amazing. You know, we had to fight against that as well. So we just came out extremely aggressive, try to, you know, keep it close. You know, we didn't expect us to go about 10, 15 points. You know, keep it close and keep pushing. That's what we did.
It sounds like the Game 3 loss still sticks with you. Is that still a motivation?
Yeah, that was, you know, we was embarrassed. You know, that was embarrassing. You know, like I said, looking up at that score, losing the way we did, you know, it was embarrassing. You know, it's a feeling that you can't get over.
So is that way you do at least get past it, is by eliminating Milwaukee?
Yeah, that'll help a lot. So, you know, like I said, to have that bad taste still in our mouth, you know, it won't do nothing until we do what we're supposed to do tomorrow and, you know, hopefully the next game.
DeMar, from 8 points to 33 points in a quick turnaround, what did you see differently on the court? What were the big changes for you? Was it as far as the mental aspect of it?
Mentally, I was just going to go out there and be extremely aggressive. You know, like the game before that wasn't me. You know, it happens. You know, can't dwell on it. As long as I have another opportunity to go out there and redeem myself, and us as a team, you know, I know we was going to step up to the challenge, and, you know, that's all it was for me.
DeMar, looked like one of the adjustments was screens set a little higher up the floor, some of them even right after half. What does that do for you in terms of space when you're attacking?
You know, you got the big backpedaling it, trying to guard you going downhill. You know, they give you so many other options where they can't blitz you, they can't load up on you. We did it a few times with Norm. You know, they pressuring up the court. So, just have a big set of high screen. We go downhill, be aggressive, take whatever they give us from there.
Is that something you can do a little bit more of with Serge in there at center because he didn't hit that three on the short roll?
Yeah, so you got to honor that. You really can't blitz too much. You got to worry about Serge knocking down a shot, or you got to worry about the guy coming off. If the backside collapse, you have corner shooters, and that's something that we kind of exploited last night.
More not concerned, but how aware do you guys need to be of Giannis in Game 5 after? I mean, you went through your tough thing in Game 3. He was no field goal in the second half. He was to make 2 points in the second half. I mean, he's, I would imagine, going to be coming out looking to redeem himself in Game 5.
Yeah, as he should. He's in the upper echelon of players that, carry their team, and that's the only way you could get back on track is respond, and it's on us to be ready for that as well, even more so. And understand it's going to be a tougher challenge. I think we all ready for it. A lot of us been in this situation before with a lot of great players, and we got to understand how to approach it the right way.
What did you do yesterday to slow him down as much as you did in that second half, especially?
Showed them bodies. Extremely was aggressive. We switched a lot, having the opportunity to switch with all 5 guys at one point. And that's one thing we was doing, just trying to throw different looks at them. Try to speed them up, try to slow them down here and there, just mixing them up.
DeMar, do you think at this stage of the series, experience is an added bonus for you guys? Because you guys have been through this so many times now?
Yeah, experience goes a long way. Understanding the moment, understanding, the Game 5. We've had opportunities to close out, big games like this. And, we know what it takes, especially coming back on our home floor. So it's something that we're going to have in the back of our mind. But like I said, we still got to go out there and play like, our backs against the wall.
Is home court truly an advantage in this series? Seeing as how you've had strong and not so strong performances, and sometimes when you're on the road, you tend to be a little more focused. It's just a whole different aspect. But do you still consider home to be an advantage as you guys step on Game 5?
It's always great to play at home, be in front of our crowd. Great thing about our crowd, they understand the moment as well. Game 5 atmosphere is definitely going to be a lot different from Game 2 home atmosphere. So, they understand the moment, and, to hear that type of thing coming back on your home floor, it's definitely going to be helpful.